Rising from the ashes. Commander Ilara Reeves stood at the viewport of the colony ship Endurance, watching the unfamiliar stars drift by. 3 years had passed since humanity had been forced to flee Earth, scattered like seeds across the galaxy by the relentless Scaran Collective. The aliens had appeared without warning, their swarm ships darkening Earth's skies before unleashing devastation upon humanity's homeworld. "Commander, we're approaching the Taurus Nebula," Lieutenant Maya Chen reported, her voice cutting through Ilara's dark thoughts. "Scanners show minimal Scaran activity in this sector." Ilara nodded, her weathered face reflecting the soft blue glow of the ship's systems. At 42, she had been a respected fleet admiral before the fall. Now she commanded one of the last intact colony vessels, carrying just over 8,000 survivors, all that remained of the once proud Eastern Pacific Fleet. "Good. Take us in slowly. Engage stealth protocols and keep all non-essential systems dark." Ilara turned from the viewport, her eyes scanning the bridge crew. They were exhausted, running on hope that grew thinner with each passing day. "Status report on the settlement pods. Functional but deteriorating," Chief Engineer Kato replied, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "The life support recyclers are at 74% efficiency. We need to find a habitable world soon, Commander." The unspoken truth hung heavy in the air. The Endurance wasn't designed for extended deep space journeys. It had been a transport vessel, hastily retrofitted during Earth's final days to carry as many survivors as possible. They had supplies for perhaps another 6 months before difficult decisions would need to be made. "Commander," the comms officer, Specialist Rhodes, suddenly sat upright. "I'm picking up a signal. It's using an old Earth military frequency." The bridge fell silent. "Source?" Ilara demanded, moving swiftly to Rhodes' station. "It's coming from the third moon of that gas giant." Rhodes pointed to a display showing a massive ringed planet with several moons. "The signal is weak, but it's definitely human in origin." "Could be a trap," Maya cautioned. "The Scaran have used our own signals against us before." Ilara studied the readouts. The signal had a particular encryption pattern, one that brought her back to her academy days. It was ancient by modern standards, dating back to the neural wars over a century ago. Few would recognize it now, which made it unlikely to be Scaran bait. "Bring us in closer, but maintain stealth." Full sensor sweep of that moon. As the Endurance carefully approached, the seemingly barren moon revealed surprising characteristics. Its surface was cratered and lifeless, but deep scans showed enormous hollow spaces beneath the regolith. Artificial structures buried under decades of meteor impacts and cosmic dust. "I'm detecting power signatures," Kaito reported with disbelief. "Minimal but steady. Whatever's down there has been running for a very long time." Ilara made her decision. "Prepare a scout team." "I'll lead it myself." "Commander," Maya objected. "Protocol states." "Protocol died with Earth, Lieutenant." Ilara cut her off. "This is the first human signal we've encountered in months. I need to see this firsthand." 6 hours later, Ilara led a team of 5 through the airless surface of the moon, following the signal to its source, a small outcropping of rocks that seemed unremarkable until their scanners revealed a hidden entrance. The massive doors were sealed shut, covered in lunar dust. "Look at this," Specialist Orion, their tech expert, brushed away the dust from a small panel. "It's an old military identification scanner." He glanced at Ilara. "Very old." Ilara removed her glove and pressed her palm against the panel. To everyone's surprise, it illuminated, scanning her hand. "Military personnel detected," a mechanical voice announced. "Rank: Commander. Access granted." The ancient doors groaned open, revealing a dark corridor that stretched deep into the moon. "How did it recognize you?" Maya asked, astonished. "Military genetic markers," Ilara replied. "All fleet officers have them embedded during commissioning. Apparently, the basic sequence hasn't changed in a century." They proceeded cautiously, their helmet lights illuminating a facility that seemed frozen in time. As they ventured deeper, emergency lights began to activate automatically, revealing an enormous underground complex. "This place is huge," Orion whispered. The scans didn't show half of this. The corridor eventually opened into a vast chamber that took their breath away. Before them stood row upon row of massive ships, unlike anything they had ever seen. Each vessel was at least 5 times the size of the largest Earth battleship, with sleek, aggressive lines and weapon systems that made modern armaments look like toys. "Dreadnoughts," Ilara breathed, recognition dawning on her face. "I thought they were just legends." According to military lore, the Dreadnought program had been Earth's most ambitious defense initiative, developed during the Neural Wars, but supposedly scrapped due to budgetary constraints and peace treaties. The program had aimed to create autonomous warships capable of defeating any extraterrestrial threat. But clearly they hadn't been scrapped. They'd been hidden. As they stood in awe, a holographic figure materialized before them, a severe-looking woman in an ancient military uniform. "Welcome, Commander. I am HFY, Automated Tactical Hierarchical Enhanced Neural Architecture. I am the custodian of Earth's Dreadnought fleet." The AI's voice was surprisingly human. "How may I assist you?" Ilara stepped forward. "Earth has fallen. We need your help." Athena's expression remained impassive, but the hologram flickered momentarily. "Please elaborate." Ilara explained everything. The Scaran invasion, Earth's fall, humanity's desperate flight across the stars. As she spoke, the AI's data cores processed the information, cross-referencing it with the limited communications it had managed to intercept over the decades. "I have been waiting for this moment for 96 years, 4 months, and 17 days, HFY finally stated. "The Dreadnought fleet was created for one purpose: to protect humanity in its darkest hour. That hour has come. Can these ships still fly?" Kaido asked, examining the nearest vessel with professional interest. "The Dreadnought fleet is fully operational," HFY confirmed. "Maintenance protocols have been running continuously. However, they require human operators to achieve full combat capability." Ilara felt a spark of hope ignite in her chest, the first real hope since Earth fell. "How many ships are there?" 27 dreadnoughts comprise the primary fleet, HFY replied, each capable of engaging and destroying multiple enemy capital ships simultaneously. Maya looked at Ilara, her eyes wide. "With these ships, we could actually fight back." For 3 days, the Endurance remained in orbit while Ilara and her crew worked with HFY to understand the Dreadnought's capabilities. The ships were technological marvels, designed with adaptive systems that could evolve to counter any enemy tactics. Each Dreadnought carried enough firepower to level a continent, with regenerative armor and energy shields centuries beyond current technology. The ships also contained manufacturing facilities that could produce smaller craft and weaponry, meaning they could sustain extended campaigns without resupply. Most importantly, they were designed to be operated by minimal crews, with HFY coordinating fleet actions. On the 4th day, as Ilara was reviewing tactical simulations with HFY, an urgent call came through from the Endurance. "Commander," Maya's voice was tense. "We've detected Scaran scout ships entering the system. 3 vessels, approaching rapidly." Ilara turned to HFY. "How quickly can we get a dreadnought ready?" "The Hyperion is already primed for deployment," the AI responded. As the fleet flagship, it was maintained at highest readiness. "Then it's time to show the Scaran what humanity can do," Ilara declared. "Prepare for immediate launch." Within an hour, the enormous hangar doors on the moon's surface rumbled open for the first time in nearly a century. The Hyperion, a colossal warship over 3 kilometers long, rose majestically from its lunar cradle, its dark hull absorbing light rather than reflecting it. On the bridge, Ilara settled into the commander's chair, surrounded by a skeleton crew of her best officers. Athena's hologram stood beside her, connected to every system throughout the massive vessel. Scaran vessels have detected us, Maya reported from the tactical station. They're altering course to intercept. Let them come, Ilara said, feeling the power of the ancient warship humming around her. Weapons status. Main cannons charge, Kaido confirmed from engineering. Kinetic barriers at full capacity. All systems nominal. The 3 Scaran scout ships approached rapidly, their organic-looking hulls bristling with weapons. They had clearly never encountered anything like the Hyperion before, and were curious rather than cautious. A fatal mistake. They're scanning us, Orion reported, attempting to establish communications. Ignore them, Ilara ordered. Target the lead vessel and fire when ready. The Hyperion's main cannon charged silently, energy building to levels that would have overwhelmed any modern power core. Then, without warning, a brilliant beam of concentrated energy lanced out, crossing the vast distance in an instant. The lead Scaran ship didn't explode so much as disintegrate, its molecular structure simply coming apart under the overwhelming energy. The remaining 2 scout ships immediately attempted evasive maneuvers, but the Hyperion's targeting systems were too advanced, too precise. 2 more shots, 2 more kills. The entire engagement had lasted less than 30 seconds. Silence fell across the bridge as the crew stared at the tactical display in disbelief. For 3 years, they had run and hidden from the Scaran, watching helplessly as colony after colony fell. Now they had destroyed 3 enemy vessels without taking so much as a scratch. Athena, Ilara said quietly, send a message to the Endurance. Tell them to prepare for docking. Then begin activation sequences for the rest of the fleet. As you wish, Commander, the Eye replied. What shall I designate as our mission parameters? Ilara stood up, looking around at her crew, seeing hope rekindled in their eyes. First, we gather the survivors scattered across this sector. Then we liberate the occupied colonies. Her voice hardened. And then we take back Earth. As the Hyperion moved to rendezvous with the Endurance, its massive silhouette blocked out the stars, a dark promise of retribution against those who had thought humanity defeated. The age of running was over. The age of the Dreadnoughts had begun. The reckoning. The Hyperion's cavernous hangar bay dwarfed the colony ship Endurance as it carefully docked inside. Commander Ilara Reeves watched from an observation platform as her people disembarked, their faces a mixture of awe and disbelief at the sheer scale of the Dreadnought. They can't comprehend it yet, HFY observed, her holographic form standing beside Ilara. The implications of what we've discovered. Can you blame them? Ilara replied. 3 days ago, we were refugees with dwindling supplies. Now we command the most powerful warship ever built by human hands. Over the next 2 weeks, the crew of the Endurance worked tirelessly to understand their new home. The Hyperion alone could comfortably house all 8,000 survivors, with room to spare. Meanwhile, HFY guided selected personnel through the activation of 2 additional Dreadnoughts, the Orion and the Artemis. Kaido oversaw the integration of the Endurance's systems with the Hyperion, ensuring their modern communication equipment could interface with the Dreadnought's more advanced technology. This would be crucial for their next step, contacting other human survivors. We've modified the long-range communication array, Kaido reported during a strategy meeting. We can now broadcast on frequencies the Scaran don't typically monitor, using compression algorithms they won't recognize as human in origin. Good, Ilara nodded. Our first priority is to locate other colony ships and bring them here. We need trained personnel if we're going to crew the entire fleet. Lieutenant Maya Chen, now serving as Ilara's XO, pulled up a holographic display of known human settlement patterns before the fall. Based on evacuation protocols, we can predict likely hiding places for other colony vessels. The Procyon system had several resource outposts that could sustain survivors, and the Helios cluster has numerous habitable moons with low Scaran presence. The problem isn't finding them, Rhodes pointed out. It's convincing them to trust us. Anyone receiving a message claiming we found ancient superweapons is going to assume it's a trap. Then we don't tell them, Ilara decided. We send a simple message with old military recognition codes. We offer supplies and safe passage. Once they see the Dreadnoughts firsthand, no further persuasion will be necessary. The plan worked better than they could have hoped. Within a month, 3 more colony vessels had joined them at the lunar base, bringing nearly 12,000 additional survivors, including, crucially, more military personnel. Each new arrival brought information about other possible survivor groups and Scarran fleet movements. Most importantly, they brought news of Haven, the largest human colony to survive the initial Scarran assault. Located in a dense asteroid field that complicated the aliens' sensor systems, Haven had managed to evade detection for nearly 2 years. But recent intelligence suggested the Scarran had finally located it and were amassing forces for an attack. Haven has over 50,000 civilians and the remains of the Western Alliance military contingent. Admiral Harrison, a gray-haired veteran who had arrived with the 3rd colony ship, explained. If it falls, we lose our best engineers and our largest stock of industrial fabricators. Then Haven will be our first target, Ilara declared. We'll take all 3 operational dreadnoughts. Athena can continue activating the rest of the fleet while we're gone. The journey to Haven took 6 days, even with the dreadnoughts' advanced propulsion systems. They arrived to find the colony already under siege. A dozen Scarran warships methodically destroying the defensive platforms protecting the asteroid settlement. They haven't detected us yet, Maya reported from Tactical. Their sensors are focused on the colony's defenses. Position the Artemis and Orion on the colony's flanks, Ilara ordered. We'll take Hyperion straight up the middle. Maximum firepower on my mark. The 3 massive warships moved into position with surprising grace for vessels of their size. When they were aligned perfectly, Ilara gave the command that would announce humanity's return to the galactic stage. All ships, fire at will. The Dreadnoughts' primary weapons discharged simultaneously, their combined energy output momentarily outshining the system's star. 3 Scarran warships simply ceased to exist, while 2 more spun away, critically damaged. The remaining alien vessels scrambled to respond, but they were designed to fight conventional human ships, not these leviathans from humanity's secret past. Their weapons fire dissipated harmlessly against the Dreadnought shields, while return fire from the human vessels cut through the Scarran defenses like paper. The battle, if it could even be called that, lasted less than 10 minutes. When it was over, the space around Haven was littered with the drifting remains of the Scarran fleet. Open a channel to the colony, Ilara instructed. A moment later, a stunned-looking man appeared on the main view screen. "This is Governor Wells of Haven Colony," he said, his voice shaking slightly. "To whom am I speaking?" "Commander Ilara Reeves of the Earth Dreadnought Fleet," she replied, unable to keep a slight smile from her face at his expression. "We thought you might need some assistance." The liberation of Haven marked a turning point in humanity's struggle. With the colony's industrial capacity and the Dreadnought's firepower, a genuine resistance began to form. Over the next 3 months, 5 more Dreadnoughts were activated and crewed. Each new vessel that joined the fleet enabled more aggressive operations against Scarran outposts. Word spread quickly among the scattered human settlements. Ships that had been hiding for years emerged from their secret shelters. Military officers who had been forced to watch helplessly as their worlds burned now flocked to serve aboard the Dreadnoughts, eager for a chance at retribution. The Scarran, for their part, seemed genuinely confused by this sudden reversal. Their swarm tactics, so effective against conventional forces, proved useless against the Dreadnoughts' advanced defensive systems. Their attempts to adapt were consistently outpaced by Athena's algorithmic predictions and countermeasures. 6 months after the discovery of the lunar base, Ilara, now promoted to admiral by the newly formed Human Resistance Coalition, stood on the bridge of the Hyperion, looking at a tactical display showing the location of all 12 active dreadnoughts and their support fleets. The Scarran have withdrawn from the Proxima and Sirius sectors, Maya reported. They're consolidating their forces around Earth and their primary hive worlds. They're scared, Admiral Harrison observed. For the first time, they're facing an enemy they can't simply overwhelm with numbers. Then it's time for the final push, Ilara decided. Athena, is the targeting data for all known Scarran high ships complete? Affirmative, Admiral, the AI confirmed. All dreadnoughts have been updated with the latest intelligence. The fleet is ready for coordinated action. The plan was audacious but simple. The entire dreadnought fleet would jump simultaneously to Earth orbit, targeting the Scarran motherships before they could react. With their command structure disrupted, the remaining alien forces would be vulnerable to conventional attacks from the growing human resistance fleet. 2 days later, the largest human fleet assembled since the fall of Earth gathered at the rendezvous point. 12 dreadnoughts formed the core, surrounded by nearly 100 smaller vessels crewed by resistance fighters from dozens of colonies. Admiral Ilara stood on the Hyperion's bridge, feeling the weight of history pressing down upon her. All ships, prepare for synchronized jump. Target coordinates locked on Earth orbit. Throughout the fleet, engines powered up. The Dreadnoughts' advanced jump drives created ripples in spacetime that would have been detectable by Scarran sensors if they had known what to look for. Jump in 3, 2, 1. Execute. The sensation of faster-than-light travel had been compared to falling through ice into freezing water. When the fleet emerged in Earth orbit, the harsh reality of their homeworld's condition hit them just as hard. The once blue planet was barely recognizable. Vast Scarran structures covered much of the surface, while mining operations had stripped entire regions down to bedrock. In orbit, dozens of alien vessels maintained the occupation, including 7 massive high ships, the command centers of the Scarran invasion force. The human fleet's sudden appearance caught the aliens completely by surprise. Before they could organize a defense, the dreadnoughts opened fire, each targeting a pre-assigned high ship. The coordinated barrage overwhelmed the alien shields, turning their largest vessels into expanding clouds of superheated gas. Secondary targets, fire at will, Ilara ordered as the initial attack concluded. Around the Hyperion, the rest of the fleet engaged the remaining Scarran vessels, which were now attempting to form a defensive perimeter. They're broadcasting distress signals, Maya reported, calling for reinforcements from the surface. Let them come, Ilara replied grimly. Athena, deploy planetary bombardment protocols. Target all confirmed Scarran military installations. From the dreadnoughts, hundreds of smaller craft descended toward Earth's atmosphere, specialized strike fighters, and orbital insertion vehicles carrying ground forces. Simultaneously, precision weapon strikes began eliminating Scarran defensive positions on the surface. The battle for Earth raged for 3 days. The Scarran fought ferociously, but without their high ships to coordinate their actions, they couldn't match the strategic flexibility of the human forces. One by one, their strongholds fell, until only scattered resistance remained. On the 4th day, Admiral Ilara Reeves set foot on Earth for the first time in over 3 years. She stood on a hilltop overlooking what had once been the Pacific Northwest, now a scarred landscape slowly being reclaimed by nature after the Scarran mining operations had been destroyed. Maya joined her, removing her helmet to breathe Earth's air directly. It's going to take decades to repair the ecological damage, she said quietly. But we will repair it, Ilara replied with certainty. Earth has endured worse in its long history, and now we have the means to protect it properly. In the sky above them, the silhouettes of dreadnoughts were visible against the clouds, sentinels standing guard over humanity's birthplace. Athena had already begun the process of activating the remaining vessels in the lunar base, bringing the full complement of 27 dreadnoughts to operational status. What happens now? Maya asked, looking out over the damaged but recovering landscape. Ilara considered the question carefully. The war wasn't truly over. The Scarran still controlled vast territories beyond Earth, and there would be attempts to reclaim what they had lost. But for the first time since the invasion began, Humanity held the upper hand. "Now we rebuild," she said finally. "We reclaim our worlds one by one. We establish a defense network that will ensure nothing like this ever happens again." She turned to face her XO, a determined expression on her face. "And we remind the galaxy that humanity is not so easily conquered." As if in response to her words, a formation of human fighters screamed overhead, their contrails painting white lines across the blue sky, a sky that belonged to Earth once more. In orbit, the Dreadnoughts maintained their silent vigil, their dark hulls reflecting the light of the sun. They were no longer legends or myths, but the physical embodiment of humanity's resilience and determination. The galaxy had changed forever, and the species that had once thought humanity defeated were about to learn a harsh lesson. Earth's children would never again be unprepared for what lurked among the stars.